Hello, this video is being brought to you by the Essex Sexual Health Service. This video is part of a series for parents and carers of secondary school age children on topics of RSHE, that is relationships, sex and health education. This video will be concerning the topic of consent, with some information and suggestions of content you might wish to cover with your young person. Consent doesn't always need to be sexual, but can come into everyday interactions and healthy relationships of all types. It's fundamentally about respect, listening to others, and allowing them to make choices. You can support your young person with understanding and considering consent by incorporating it into your everyday actions. For example, you can ask before giving your child a hug and encourage them to do the same with others. By crucially listening to their response and not forcing physical touch in everyday instances, can teach your child how to apply these principles if they encounter a sexual scenario. When discussing sexual consent, your child needs to know the law. This includes age of consent. Legally, they must be 16 years or older to engage in consensual sex. They need to know that consent is a requirement for any sexual act. It is needed clearly and verbally and taken from a person with capacity. Here are some examples of what might affect capacity. Teenagers might choose to begin experimenting with alcohol, which they need to understand might affect capacity. They need to know that the way that alcohol affects them may not be the same as it affects others. In the media, people who are drunk are often portrayed with obvious signs of intoxication, such as stumbling or slurring. But in reality, drunkenness can look quite different on different people. And if a young person is not used to this, it may be difficult for them to tell when capacity is affected. Your young person needs to know that if they have any uncertainty around their own or others' levels of intoxication, they should not be engaging in sexual activity. Ability to consent can also be affected by power dynamics, such as those listed here. It's important that young people consider which situations they may hold power over others, and in what situations others may hold power over them, and how this in turn might affect ability to consent freely and without influence. We often use the acronym FRIES to explain consent to young people. FRIES stands for F, freely given, without coercion or pressure. R, reversible. Someone can change their mind at any time for any reason, and they don't have to explain. I, informed. Both people engaged in sexual activity need to know exactly what it is that's going to happen, and they also need to understand things like risk, condom use, or contraception. E is for enthusiastic, the difference between okay and yes. S is for specific. Every time, every act. Consent is an ongoing conversation and not just a one-off ask. Just because someone agreed to something in the past doesn't mean they consent this time. Just because someone agreed to be someone else's boyfriend or girlfriend doesn't mean they consent to certain things. Consent can be a good time to talk to your child about rejection, letting them know that if someone doesn't consent to something or changes their mind, it might be frustrating, but everyone's entitled to their own choices, and you can't get angry with them for it. Rejection can feel very personal, but learning to deal with it maturely is an important part of growing up. If someone's in a relationship and a partner evokes consent or doesn't want to do something, it doesn't mean that they're rejecting the other person or they don't love them. It means that they have a comfortable, healthy relationship where their partner is happy conveying boundaries. Even if it might be frustrating, it needs to be respected. Pointing out instances where you see positive examples of this in TV shows or life can help show your child what healthy communication looks like. Consent needs to be verbal, but it should also be backed up with the non-verbal. Ensuring that a person is comfortable and not feeling pressured or coerced means checking their verbal and non-verbal body language align. As a parent, you can go over these specifics with your child and make sure to ensure that they know that, as well as asking for consent, they need to be giving consent. Your child needs to know that they have the power to say no to things, especially concerning their body, and it's not okay if someone ignores this. If they've set a boundary about their body or themselves and someone isn't respecting it, this is not okay. Letting your child know that they can come to you and helping them identify other safe adults that they can go to if they have any concerns or are experiencing or have witnessed any behaviour that they consider unwanted or harmful. Encourage your child to question stereotypes around teen behaviour and consent, particularly where it may be gendered and harmful. Ideas like locker room talk being normal, boys will be boys, harm all children regardless of gender, and reinforce damaging behaviour from a grassroots level. Verbal or physical harassment, threats, or stalking are all unacceptable and can be prevented if reported, but your child needs to know that they will be supported if they do report. For some examples of places where you might gain this support, please see our national resources slide next. Thank you for watching. We do encourage you to watch some of the other videos in our series. For local resources, please check out these web pages.